Hey, middle-aged musician here, and today I was going to talk about my Matamp GT1. I first got interested in Matamps via Orange, which most people probably know that relationship, but if not, kind of explain it briefly. Matt Matthias started building amps and selling them under the Radiocraft name back around 1964. He was kind of a little more north in England, and in 1968, Clive Cooper had this store in London, and kind of back in that time, people would have their store, and sometimes people would amp manufacturers would rebrand their amp for that store. Marshall did this. So Matamp did this for Orange. And if you look at the early Oranges, like you look at Jimmy Page's Orange, it says like Orange by Matamp on the front. They really kind of got their big, a lot of their early notoriety though, because Peter Green of Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac started using them when he went on tour in the U.S. And they're really known for they sound great overdriven, but they had a lot of headroom, really great clean sound. So that's really what he liked about them. They went through, eventually two companies kind of parted ways, but they had kind of the same circuitry. They were popular. You'd see a lot of footage back in the early 70s, mid 70s with Oranges, less so the Matamps, but they were pretty popular, and they kind of popularity waned, and eventually Gibson had them, and that's when you see like the Overdrive 120. They had the Orange moniker, and they had a little bit of resurgence. That's around the time I started becoming aware of them. There was a local band when I was living up by Champaign, Illinois, called Hum, and they used Orange OR 120s and high watt DR103 amps, and I really like that sound. I occasionally see some Oranges for sale around, and was kind of wanted one around that time. Orange started kind of restarting as a company. This would have been early 2000s, and you really didn't hear much about Orange. Orange kind of built itself around that time, and to the company it is today, which is a pretty big company. But Matamp's still been around, still building amps. I ordered that GT1 a couple years ago, maybe. And it was sort of split between the GT1 and GT120. A lot of Matamp purists like the GT120. If you're a real purist, you don't want the master volume either, but I wanted the master volume. I went with the GT1. So I like that. I'm going to walk through it, go through some of the sounds. I'm going to use a couple different guitars. I'm also going to go through it kind of just through the amp, and then with a couple of overdrive pedals. I'll note those. I should note there was a book that kind of talks about the history. It has mixed reviews. It came out. I bought it when it came out in 2006. Yeah, 2006. Matamp at 60. It chronicles a lot of this history. Also talks about around that time I got interested. There was a guy, I think he was in Seattle. He was out on the West Coast that had started out importing Matamps, and then he just started his own. That relationship kind of went sour. He was kind of the avenue in the U.S. if you wanted a Matamp. He was importing them, and something happened. He started building his own, and I think green amps, I think, was what he went under, and now I think they're maybe white or something. I think he's still around building kind of these clones of them, and I think the book talks about that as well. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of conflicting information about kind of the early days of these amps. Once they got popular among the doom and stoner crowd, that's really when things kind of took off. So anyway, I'm gonna play some sounds. I'll use a Strat Les Paul and that 7-string Ibanez with little hotter pickups. Show you some different sounds. I'll go through kind of the settings on the amp. We'll look at the outside, we'll look at the inside, and yeah, hopefully it's informative for you. It's one of my favorite amps. So anyway, well, till the next segment here. Yeah, so pulled this guy out. He is not light. So you've got two inputs, 100 watt, 50 watt. Voice, which is basically a set of capacitors that pull out the high frequencies, volume / gain, and depending on which mode you have this in, you can turn off, I believe, I haven't tried it out, I think you can turn off the master and just have this just be your gain, but where the volume dictates the gain, just the non-master volume. Bass, middle, treble, presence, very British. Send and return, standby, and power, right? And then the kind of infamous grips. Yeah, this is like I said, it's not a light amp. The transformers in this are sizable. So let's look at the back side, and then we're gonna kind of dig in. Got this back plate, mains in, power, fuse, all the information, and then your speaker outputs, 4, 8, and 16 ohms. So let's pause for a minute. We'll pull off this back panel and pull the chassis out and take a look at that. So the first thing I want to do is talk about how overbuilt this amp is. This is crazy. Very heavy duty, everything's super heavy duty. The entire, I'm going to move this camera around, the entire head shell is just enclosed. Once you pull it out, and you're going to have access to all the goodies, There's a metal plate underneath. But one thing I'm just going to point out right away. I have never seen transformers this big. I mean, these are monsters. Yeah, this is a overbuilt amp in every, you know, this is like somebody running a 69 Chevelle in the highest NHRA class or something. This thing is just nuts. Yeah, built like nobody's business. I just can't get, I've never seen anything like this. So let's get a little further in, but I'm already in awe. Okay, so this is the do not tamper with. It's taped. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut the tape over here, avoid some warranties, and look inside. And my goodness, that is gorgeous. Holy shnikes. That is one of the best looking amps that I have ever seen. So you go over here, you see the power come in, you see the diode rectification. Man, this is gorgeous. Holy smokes, it's gorgeous. This is like looking at a high watt or something. I mean, look at those, look at that wiring. My gosh. I am just taken aback. This is, so a couple of years ago, Matamp changed things to they have these like, it's a combination between turret board construction on the top and more trace on the bottom. And so they have these individual circuit boards, but holy Moses, this is, I've never seen anything like this. This is, yeah. I'm in awe. I'm in awe. First time I've looked inside that is something to behold. Something to behold. Okay, so we've heard it, the GT1 with some different pedals. I'm going to leave the Hizumitas in the chain. I like the kind of that fuzz with it. I think that works pretty well with that. We're going to try it with some different guitars. And here you're going to see a bigger difference. So we'll start with the Les Paul, kind of going between bridge and neck pickup, which I did before. But yeah, Les Paul. Then I've got a Player Series Strat. So you're going to get the single coils and that kind of quackiness from the Strat. I'm just going from position 1 to 5. I'm not going through all 4 positions, but and then the Ibanez headless 7-string with the bare knuckles pickups in it, which are pretty high output, and of course it's 7 strings. You've got that low B in there. It tends to sound pretty much the heaviest through about anything. So yeah, I hope you enjoy those clips. So. Yeah, so kind of heard it with some different guitars and different pedals. Next, I'm just going to demonstrate it just with output. Well, not just with, but Les Paul straight into it. I'm using an attenuator, the Bujera one, I can't remember, DS1 or something. It tends to darken the tone a little bit, but just to give you an idea, blowing my eardrums out and the recording with that. So I'm gonna play around with the gain, gonna play around with the output section though. You'll notice at about halfway, at about noon, it starts to compress and break up a little bit with the master volume, and past that it compresses more and more. After about the 3 o'clock level, you get a little bit more compression, but you'll notice that like the low end kind of goes away a little bit. Kind of suspecting that the the output transformer, even though they're pretty sizable, probably has a hard time keeping up with that. Although it's possible that the attenuator is also kind of rolling it off at that point. It got pretty warm in this demo. I was going through the 100-watt side of the amp. A lot of these amps, like you'll notice, like a Marshall, about 50, after about 5, they tend to compress a lot, and after about 3 o'clock, there's not much that's usable. Matamp orange high watt style amps, the old Laney, not the newer like AORs and that, but the old like supergroups and that, kind of the same thing. Once you get if you take they like that power tube breakup, and once you get them past a certain point, you really get that. I love the sound of my high watt, high tone after a certain point, and then kind of just use the preamp gain to kind of sweeten it out. They're really good for that. So anyway, kind of demonstrate it. Like I said, when you have the preamp up all the way and the power tubes up all the way, power up all the way, it gets a little fizzy, high-endy. The sweet spot seems to be around keeping them both somewhere between noon and 3 o'clock. Yeah, kind of do it backwards here. Noon and 3 o'clock. But anyway, just thought I'd demonstrate that as kind of the final side of this. Like I said, a lot of guys that are into these style amps really like the power tube distortion side of it. So just thought I'd throw that in there.